Hi friends, hello, hi, how are you? I hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Hello and welcome to Glowmas. Glowmas is almost over. This is crazy. I feel like every year we hit the midway point and I'm like, ugh, and then it flies by. It goes by so fast. Can't believe it's almost come to an end. But so today's video, we are going to be tackling kind of a big topic, and I'm gonna just start this off by saying, like, right now, I don't necessarily know if this video is gonna cover like every single thing. I feel like when we're talking about a person or like an event that happened, it's a little bit easier to try to cover every single thing and maybe bring up everything that like a singular person would remember or know about. However, with concepts like this, it's definitely a little bit more tricky. So I do just want to give a disclaimer that while I definitely tried to cover a wide variety of like people and topics and trends and things like that, I don't know that this video is going to reflect every single person's individual experience. Just because it's such a broad topic, it would be basically impossible to perfectly sum up everyone's experience with the beauty community all in like one video. But we're gonna try to do sort of a brief overview of this topic, and I'm going to do my best to sort of back up why I feel the way I feel and why I have the opinions that I have. So in today's video, we're going to be tackling this sort of comment that's been getting thrown around a lot, especially in the last year or two, and that is the question of, is the beauty community, is it dead? Are people done with the beauty community? Is the beauty community falling off? Does nobody care about makeup content anymore? And we're gonna kind of dive into why I personally think the beauty community is dying, or maybe I don't think it's dying. You're gonna have to wait till the end. Some YouTube clickbait for you. How I think we got here, and also kind of briefly touch on how the beauty community started and how it turned into what it turned into today. So if you're interested in this topic and you're interested in chatting with me about why you think the beauty community either is failing or hasn't failed, let's get into it. I'm trying not to use the word dead. Mostly because it gets you demonetized on YouTube. And this video is ad friendly, so I would like to not get demonetized. Anyway, so let's take it back all the way to 2006, because that was when the very first beauty YouTube tutorial was ever posted. I don't think that this was necessarily like the very first one, but as far as Google goes and kind of general consensus, it seems that this was the first ever makeup tutorial that was uploaded to the internet. And that was a video by Sandy Gold, and the video was a 10-minute makeup routine. It was basically just Sandy showing her viewers how to do a very basic, simple 10-minute makeup routine. Now, at the time, this video did decently well, but it wasn't until a few days later when Sandy uploaded her Smokey eye tutorial that things really started to pick up. The video within the span of a year got 4 million views, which I know now we see beauty YouTubers pulling in views in the like tens of millions, so that doesn't seem that crazy. However, just for some context, YouTube was created in 2005. So the fact that by 2007, people were already getting 4 million views on a video was kind of insane. Like, that was nutty. Now, less than a year later, Michelle Phan sort of entered the YouTube scene, and I think Michelle Phan is very much known as sort of the person who started beauty YouTube. Despite maybe not having the very first makeup tutorial, her makeup tutorials and her content definitely popularized the genre of beauty on YouTube from like 2006 to like 2011. Her first video was a natural makeup look, which really focused on how to achieve a very natural sort of base makeup look. And from there on out, her videos were very much tutorial based. They weren't anything super like challenge heavy or heavily edited. It was literally just her giving tips and tricks on how to do your makeup. Like, that was the gist of her early videos. After Michelle Phan's success, a lot of other beauty content creators started flocking to the website, and very quickly the sort of beauty community was born. The beauty community first started out as very small and also a very humble place, and I think that's what drew people to the original content creators that were posting makeup tutorials back from like 2007 to 2010. People like Michelle Phan, Marlene Estelle, Zoella, and Blair Fowler dominated the space initially and gained popularity with tips and tricks on how to do your makeup and kind of how to just make your makeup look better. And honestly, I really accredit the rise of sort of the socialite as a reason for people wanting to learn how to do their makeup better. A lot of people were looking at these sort of socialites like Paris Hilton, Nicole Richie, Lindsay Lohan, who she was an actress too, but she was also sort of a socialite in Hollywood. She was always in like newspapers and magazines and things like that. And also Kim Kardashian. People were looking at these women and looking at their makeup and seeing how they applied their makeup and thinking, I wish I could do that, but I simply can't because I don't have like a makeup artist like these women do. I do just want to make a little sort of footnote here that I'm not trying to insinuate that people like Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian originated a lot of the original techniques we saw in the beauty community on YouTube, like contouring or smoky eyes. Most of those trends were started and came from drag culture. So I'm in no way trying to say that these celebrities started those trends. They absolutely did not. But I do think that those celebrities sort of brought it to mainstream attention. And because they popularized these techniques in makeup, because people were seeing them in like People magazine every week, I think that is a big reason that the initial beauty community started taking off. People basically just wanted to learn how to do their makeup like Kim Kardashian or like Paris Hilton or who else, like Hilary Duff, like I don't know. People wanted to learn how to do their makeup like these celebrities, and a lot of the original makeup content creators that we're talking about here really focused on how to do that. They were teaching people how to contour, how to do a smoky eye, how to shape your eyebrows. Before YouTube, you could only learn these things either through blog posts, because there were some like makeup bloggers who showed pictures step by step of how to do makeup, or you had to read it in like a magazine or a book. That was the only way to learn how to do your makeup before YouTube came around. So as YouTube became more popular, so did this sort of first wave of influencers. And as a result of this, these first wave of beauty content creators were getting millions of views, and very quickly the makeup community on YouTube became some of the most viewed videos on the platform. Now, I think the biggest sort of charm to these original makeup videos is really just the fact that they're so simple. Like, there was no fancy cameras, there was no fancy lighting, there was no sort of like anything really. It was literally just people either filming on like webcams or filming on phones who were just like recording themselves. You could barely see the actual products in half of the shot. You could barely see the techniques they were using. There was no real flash to the early beauty community, which is such a stark contrast from the way that it is now, where it feels like it's all sort of about the flashiness of everything. There was none of that in these original days. It was just normal people talking about makeup. And that really is apparent and comes through in these original videos. I also think the other reason this early content was so successful was because it was just so relatable. There wasn't a huge focus yet on sort of artistry in makeup, and it was much more focused on everyday achievable looks that literally anyone could do. There wasn't any sort of gatekeeping happening in the makeup community yet. Oh, you're not good enough at this. It was like, hey, if you buy this brown eyeshadow, you're probably gonna be able to make your eyes look very similar to how I made my eyes look. And I think that sort of accessibility was really, really helpful for early YouTubers. I think the other reason that these original beauty gurus were starting to grow was because YouTube as a platform was starting to grow. So obviously more and more people were finding out about the website, and more people were signing up to be members, which in turn brought them to videos from people like Zoella and Michelle Phan. I also want to talk about something that I don't think people are gonna like, but I think it's an important point to talk about. And that is the fact that these early YouTubers were really not making a ton of money. And I think that money is a very touchy topic. A lot of people don't like when I talk about money in the influencer space, but I think if we're gonna talk honestly and have like an honest conversation about the way that the beauty community kind of fell off and a lot of people aren't so interested anymore, I think that money needs to be a part of that conversation. The people that you were watching and supporting and loving, they weren't turning around and sort of like flexing all of their wealth to you. Like Michelle Phan, like you were watching her and she was getting 15 million views a video, but you could tell she wasn't really making a ton of money from that. There was no drastic lifestyle change or drastic increase in income that you could visibly see through the computer screen. Like all of these people started as very humble, normal, everyday people and stayed humble, normal, everyday people because there was not yet an influx of money. Technically, you could join the YouTube Partner Program in 2007. That's when it started. And the YouTube Partner Program is how you get paid through YouTube. But ad rates in the beginning were not the way that they are now. Like they are not as high as they are now. And on top of that, makeup brands and also just brands in general had not really discovered the sort of value in influencer marketing yet. So that definitely had an impact impact on the way that people were making money on the app. A lot of the people I just mentioned, like Zoella, Marlene Estelle, Michelle Phan, they're all very successful and wealthy in their own right now. But at the time when they were really, really popular on YouTube, they were not at that level of wealth, and that definitely transferred through the screen. Like if you watch their old videos, there's really not much change in who they were when they posted their first video and who they were when they posted their like 20th or 30th video, despite getting tens of millions of views on these makeup tutorials. Now, some of these content creators did use the sort of success they had on YouTube to springboard into businesses. I think the best example is Marlene Estelle and Makeup Geek. She really turned her online persona and her brand online into a real life makeup brand, and she's been very successful at that. But at the time, the majority of YouTubers on the platform were not making content to make money or to get something out of it. They were doing it because they had knowledge and information that they wanted to share with everyday makeup lovers. Now, even though all of that sort of seems like a positive, and I get why it would seem like a positive, especially if you're one of the people who thinks that the beauty community has gone like totally in the wrong direction, I will also say about this early content, and this is no shade to any of these creators because this is just what it was at the time, but I think a lot of the early makeup content on YouTube is really lacking in personality. You weren't really getting to know the people that were teaching you how to do makeup, especially the way that we do now. Like now, personality is kind of the biggest way you can ever hope to grow a channel on YouTube. Something that's completely informative, like a just basic makeup tutorial with no personality put in, is not going to do as well as it did 15 years ago. But at the time, a lot of those videos now are almost a little, I don't want to say boring, because they weren't boring. They just were teaching you something. It was like watching an educational video in school. Like there wasn't a ton of personality. And I think that's why very quickly people got a little bit bored of these videos and bored of the sort of, you know, same thing over and over again. And that's where we get into more of the second wave of the beauty community. The second wave was really kind of what we see now, minus some and plus some. From about 2009 to 2011, many creators, Jaclyn Hill, Jackie Aina, and Graveyard Girl all joined the platform, and they were kind of quickly filling up the space with this new type of content creation. It wasn't anymore just about everyday basic tutorials, even though that's still a lot of what they did, especially in their early content. Like they were very focused on makeup tutorials, but these makeup tutorials had personality. They had jokes. This is where we really started to see creators forming a lot more of a parasocial bond with their audience than we had seen in previous content. I think there was a much higher focus on creating content that had a purpose that wasn't just about teaching, but was also about connecting with the audience that you were trying to grow and making entertaining content, not just educational content. Now, because the beauty community was so small at this time, a lot of these content creators started rising in subscriber count very quickly. I think a lot of them were also very quick to realize the ways that they could sort of monetize their content. Now, I've done a full video on the evolution of Jaclyn Hill, and I go really in depth about this in regards to her specific sort of path that she took to where she is today. Like I really dove into how she started sort of paving the way for YouTubers to start taking more sponsorships, for YouTubers to start doing more brand collaborations, for YouTubers to start doing affiliate codes. Like Jaclyn Hill was really a leading force in this, but she was not the only person doing this, especially by 2013, 2014. And frankly, if I'm being honest, and this is getting us to sort of my hot take of this video, but I think that in 2013, 2014, when influencers started pairing up with brands, I think that was definitely sort of the start of the decline of the beauty community. For a while there, from like 2015 to 2017, 2018, the beauty community became a lot less about teaching people how to do makeup and teaching people how to do things, less information based and more consumer based. Instead of teaching you how to get flawless skin with a flawless base, the beauty community became more focused on how to sell you this one foundation from this one brand that I am directly going to be profiting from if you buy it. A lot of people called this shilling, and I still think that that is a very accurate description of what was happening during this time. Basically, beauty channels turned away from information-based content and turned more into sort of QVC style videos. And I think as this progressed, it also turned into a lot of influencers making content solely just to make money. Like, the sole purpose was no longer to engage with people about makeup and talk to people about makeup, and it was much more focused on how do I capitalize off of this fame that I'm having right now as much as possible. Honestly, I don't even know that I fully fault a lot of these influencers. Like, we're talking about like the Jaclyn Hills, the Laura Lees, the Manny MUAs, the Patrick Stars, Nikita Dragons, and honestly, everyone was doing it. It was mid-sized to large creators were pushing like Morphe codes, Bellamy hair codes, Sigma brushes codes, like everybody was pushing these codes. And honestly, I think when people talk about this topic, a lot of times people blame these beauty influencers and blame these people for like ruining the community because they made it all about money. And I don't necessarily blame them. I don't think it's a bad thing that creators make money. I will never say that it's a bad thing that creators make money. I think it's awesome that so many people have been able to find a livelihood in doing what they love, which is like content creation or talking about makeup or anything like that. I think that's an amazing thing. However, I have been both a viewer and a YouTuber, and I was a viewer before I was a YouTuber, and I can tell you I was a viewer during this time, and it was super fucking annoying from the consumer perspective. Yes, everybody deserves to be paid, and yes, if you're hyping up this brand and in turn making them millions of dollars, you should be compensated for that. However, what started to happen was people started valuing making money over giving honest and fair criticisms about products. Because honestly, as the beauty community grew and as more and more creators joined and as more and more viewers started watching makeup content, the beauty community became a lot less about tutorials and way more focused on product reviews. I would say from like 2014 to 2018, the main thing that people wanted to see were product reviews. Because a lot of beauty influencers were a little bit more hyper focused on making money than making honest recommendations, it honestly turned a lot of people off to the beauty community and made a lot of people feel like they could no longer trust these influencers because they were getting recommended really shitty products. I don't even think that beauty influencers, like the ones we're talking about, the sort of second wave of influencers, I don't think they are responsible for ruining the beauty community. I honestly think that brands ruined the beauty community. I want to dive into why I think that is, because I know that's a little bit of a like hot take here, but I really want to explain myself. I feel like a lot of people blame Jaclyn Hill. It's not entirely Jaclyn Hill's fault, okay? Number one, there was like a makeup bubble that was bound to burst. I actually made a video about this topic like 2 years ago. I think it was with Raw Beauty Christie. We did a collab for Glomus actually, and we talked about the makeup bubble and how it was growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, and how it felt like it was just about to pop because there was so much overproduction and in turn overconsumption of makeup, and how that was eventually going to not be able to happen anymore. Like it was going to come to a head, and it has now. I think when brands saw that people were starting to get more interested in makeup, mostly because of socialites and wanting to look more like really famous people, and also because of the YouTube community, I think that because of those two things, they saw that more and more people were buying makeup than ever before, that more and more people were starting to buy makeup again. People were getting really, really in to the world of makeup. And because they had YouTubers who had sort of a direct line to consumers, they were able to push these products at a rapid rate. This is when PR started getting really crazy. This is when sponsorships started getting really crazy. Affiliate codes started getting really crazy. And brands were making millions, sometimes billions of dollars off of all of these different makeup launches. Everybody wanted to buy every single thing that came out. And the big reason for that was because there was the hype from social media that got people interested and wanting to buy these new products. There was a time when Anastasia could not even put out a palette without it selling out. When Too Faced couldn't put out a collection without it selling out. People were eating up all of these new launches, new releases, new themes, new styles of makeup, new concepts. Like everybody was really eating that up. And it was sort of this cycle. Like the brand would overproduce a ton of different makeup and constantly be putting stuff out and constantly be releasing things. Influencers would be getting all of that stuff for free and sometimes being paid to promote it, and would constantly be promoting it to the consumer and telling them they need to buy everything. And then consumers would turn around and buy everything that the influencer was telling them to buy. And then the brand took that as a sign that this was working, so they should keep doing it. And the cycle continued on. And the reason I think that it stopped is because number one, I think that brands pushed it way too far. They did not understand the value of having authentic influencers that people could trust. They were so much more focused on making a quick buck and making some quick cash off of sponsorships and brand deals and affiliate codes that they didn't think for even a second about what would happen if people started losing trust in these influencers. So when that started to happen, they didn't stop doing what they were doing before. They didn't pivot to like a different marketing technique. At least they do now. But at the time, they didn't like pivot to a different marketing technique. They just kept doing it, which made the distrust for influencers grow even more. On top of that, influencers started to see a dip in numbers and a dip in success because people didn't trust their recommendations anymore. And I think on the consumer end of things, we all just got makeup fatigued. Like, you get to a point, I think, if you're just starting out in makeup, I don't think that this will make a lot of sense. But if you've been into the makeup community for a while, I would say even just like the last 5 years, I think we can all sort of speak to this feeling of just like makeup burnout and makeup fatigue because there's only so much makeup you can own. There was a while on YouTube where it was really, really glorified to have rooms filled with makeup and to have every new launch and every new palette and to have these insane beauty rooms that serve no other purpose other than to be a place where you store and do your makeup. And there was just this massive amount of overconsumption happening, and it was being glorified by mostly influencers because they were getting tons of makeup for free. But then we all got to a point where we kind of realized like, wait. We only have one face. We can only use so many sparkly goos on our eyes. We can only use so many sparkly powders on our faces. Like, there's only so much makeup we can actually use. And right now, a lot of this makeup is going to waste because we have too much of it. I think it honestly is what it took as makeup started expiring on people. And they were like, oh shit, I barely used this and I spent like $50 on it because Laura Lee told me it was gonna be amazing. I think it's really easy to blame influencers for this sort of makeup fatigue and this distrust. But I think at the root of everything, it kind of is the brands, not their fault, but it is the brands. Once we started commercializing the YouTube beauty space, it was kind of all destined to be over from there. There was no real way for a lot of these big influencers to come back from that. And I want to make it very clear that I'm speaking about this as someone who doesn't think the beauty community is dead. I just don't think that it pulls in the same number of views as it once did. Like, you look at creators who used to easily pull in like 10 million views a video, and now they can barely get 1 to 2 million or sometimes even less. I also think, now that I've vented about brands, I think it's also important to talk about the way that drama impacted the makeup beauty community. When drama channels first really started back in like 2015, that's kind of when the first few drama channels started getting really popular. You had people like Sanders Kennedy, John Kuckian, Karina Kaboom, Rich Lux, like they were kind of the OG drama channels. When you had those people starting out and starting to get popular, the drama was very boring. Like, especially looking back, it was fun because it was just like sassy and silly and kind of just like people spilling tea and shading people. And it wasn't anything too serious. It was like, oh my God, these influencers went to a Morphe store and they didn't pay for anything. Or it was like, oh my God, this person is begging to be on this PR list. Or it was like, this person shaded this person in a tweet. Like, none of it was super intense or serious or crazy. And even after the first Dramageddon, I think that was our first real taste of a lot more serious drama, because we were talking about things like racism and people being backstabby and terrible to one another. So it was like a little bit more serious. We stepped it up. And then we got to Dramageddon 2, which was Sistergeddon. And then things became even more serious because it was like, okay, now we're talking about crimes. And then we started talking more about like Jeffree Star, James Charles, Shane Dawson for some reason got involved. And it became like, okay, no, these aren't even like kind of crimes. These are like actual legitimate crimes that we are talking about that these people have done. And we don't really know where to go from here. I think in the same way that people started getting makeup fatigue from this sort of constant pushing of product, I think think people have also gotten drama fatigue, but not even drama fatigue in general, because drama and commentary channels still do very well. I think people have gotten makeup community drama fatigue. I think because so many of these major players in these major dramas that have happened and that have expanded past even the beauty community and turned into just like YouTube drama as a whole, I think because so much of that happened and it got so serious and so dark and so twisted, I think people have this sort of beauty guru drama fatigue where even when something kind of does happen, people just don't really want to hear about it or talk about it right now, because it's like the same 1% of people who are always involved in these same scandals over and over and over again, and it's kind of exhausting to listen to. I also think additionally, and this isn't necessarily drama channels' faults, like I don't think they're to blame for people distrusting beauty gurus. However, they were bringing attention to a lot of the shady things that beauty influencers were doing, and they kind of messed up their bag in a way. And that's not their fault. Consumers should have been informed and they should have been made more aware of what was going on. I don't think that's a bad thing. But I think because so many drama channels were starting to call out beauty influencers, it also breeded this distrust in beauty influencers, which carried over into the Dramageddons and then made people think, well, they're either lying about sponsorships or they're a freaking sexual predator or they're a disgusting racist. So like, where do we go from here? Like, who do we support? We can't trust anyone in this space. You all suck. And honestly, I think the thing that's the saddest about that to me, especially now that we're in 2021, almost in 2022, and we're sort of seeing the after effects of all of this happen, right? Like we're seeing the effect of brands making the beauty community so corporate. We're seeing the effect of intense drama in the beauty community and distrust in influencers. We're seeing all of this now, the sort of ripple effects of that all happening. And I think what sucks is that we're seeing it impact smaller creators a lot. Like there are a lot of small creators who have incredible channels, who make incredibly engaging content. It's very much just about the makeup, which is what people sort of claim that they want, what the audience claims that they want, but people don't really want it anymore because of all the things I just talked about. As much as people say they want to go back to Michelle Phan in 2006, that's not true because people are creating that content, nobody's really watching it. I think the thing that's sad is that this ripple effect that happened has really affected smaller beauty creators the most, who were just starting out in 2018, 2019, who were trying to make a name for themselves the way that these bigger beauty gurus did, who are trying to learn from their past mistakes and do it differently, and aren't being given the opportunity to do so because the viewers have such a bad taste left in their mouth from everything that's just unfolded. Basically because the top 1% of beauty gurus in the beauty guru space were so shitty, it's almost like ruined it for the rest of the people trying to do the same thing now. Additionally, I think it's really important to talk about the growth of the beauty community. I mean, it has grown exponentially in the past, especially 5 to 6 years. So many new people have beauty channels and makeup channels, tutorial channels, and it seems like it's really impossible to get noticed in this sea of beauty content creation unless you have a niche. I feel like the best example of someone who does makeup but has like a twist to it and has a niche is Bailey Sarian, who is incredibly popular right now. She's grown at a rapid rate. And the reason her videos are so popular is because they have a twist. They are really focused on makeup, but she also throws in true crime. You have Amanda, who focuses on makeup and does makeup sort of get ready with me. She also talks about like reality shows and music and Terry, and she has this twist to her channel that makes her really unique and stand out from other people, which is why her channel has been able to grow. So after saying all of this and like kind of talking about all of this for way too long, do I think the beauty community is dead? No, I don't think it's. But I'm also of the opinion that everything on the internet exists in ebbs and flows. I think content creators exist in ebbs and flows. I think life is an ebb and a flow. Like I think sometimes you're gonna be really on it and have a great time. Sometimes it's not gonna be as great and it's gonna flow back. And then you're gonna have your time again and then it's gonna go back. I think the beauty community right now is just in an ebb. And I also think we're in sort of a growth period. Like we've just had all of this really crazy shit happen and all of this crazy drama blow up. All of our top creators are like wiped out from drama essentially. Most people don't trust them with makeup recommendations anymore. So we're sort of going through growing pains at this point in time. And I think that's why it seems right now because we're going through these growing pains, and I think people are just less interested in makeup right now. I think COVID also plays a part in that, where people aren't really wearing makeup as much as they used to, nor buying makeup as much as they used to, so the need for reviews and tutorials has lessened. However, I do think that it's going to come back. I do think that the beauty community is going to sort of come back into a flow. A new product's gonna launch that everybody's gonna wanna know about, or a new brand is gonna launch that everyone's gonna wanna know about, or something's gonna happen. And it's definitely going to start flowing again and be a lot bigger again. I think right now, people honestly, like, I can speak from a viewer perspective, I just need a break. Like, I just need a break from all of it. And not forever, but like for right now, I need a break from it all. And I think most viewers feel that way as well. They just kind of feel like, hey, I need a break. I feel like the beauty content that is successful right now, and honestly, I can speak even just from looking at my own views on my makeup content that I do, I can say that I think what people want right now is sort of the anti-beauty guru. Like, people don't want to be told what products to buy. They want to be told what products not to buy. They want to be talked out of makeup, not talked into makeup at this point in time. People are much more focused on anti-consumerism and not buying as much shit, basically. And I think that that trend is, number one, a good thing because it's just like good for the environment and good for your bank account. But I also think it's an interesting trend because it's so directly opposite to what the beauty community was just 5 years ago. I feel like the best way for beauty YouTubers to build trust with an audience is to, number one, don't get a Morphe code. Like, if you want advice, don't get a Morphe code. And number two, I think the other good way to build trust is by talking about products' downfalls, talking about products you shouldn't buy, talking about products that sucked, like being honest. Not putting the brand over your viewer, I think, is a really good place to start for content creators to start gaining back the trust of people who lost faith in the beauty community back in like 2018. I also think that the TikTok beauty community is sort of mirroring the early beauty community back in like 2013, which has been fascinating to watch. There are creators over there that started out with this sort of anti-beauty guru mindset who were just really focused on tutorials and focused much more about solely makeup content that have now grown to be huge. And the same thing's happening over there, where brands are starting to see the value in TikTok makeup artists and TikTok makeup content creators and are starting to sort of taint that too. And their followers are already starting to point it out and notice it the same way that people did back in 2016. And it's sort of this vicious cycle. As long as corporations have a hand in the beauty community in such an intense way, I think that it's always going to be harder for beauty content creators to make more authentic content. I think eventually people will circle back to YouTube and circle back to the beauty community. I think it's just going to take some time. I think people have to like forget about all of the drama that has happened. And I also think they need to forget about the way that so many OG beauty gurus really kind of screwed people over with the way that they discussed and marketed products. So I think that that trust for the beauty community has to come back, and the only way that will is with time. I also think people have to not buy makeup for a while. Like, I think people are just sick of buying makeup, honestly. So it's like people are just kind of over it. So people have to go through their phase where they're like not buying as much makeup, not really doing that as much. Do I think we should ever return to the massive overconsumption that was happening in 2016? Absolutely not. But I do think we'll get to a point where people can have a more healthy relationship with makeup. I hope we can get to that point. I'm starting to get to that point as like an individual person, and it's been really nice to have a more downsized, not even a collection of makeup anymore, it's just like my makeup. I have a more reasonable amount of makeup, and I've been much happier as a result of that. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this topic. Sorry if this video was so like long and rambly, but I just had a lot to say about it. I think the topic itself is really interesting, and I'm very curious to know down below, do you guys think the beauty community is dying? Like, what do you guys think the reason is? Like, I would love to have more of an open conversation in the comments because I'm genuinely curious what you guys think about this one. I'm just like not sure. I'm not even sure if I'm correct about all of these assumptions. It's just kind of my feelings on the matter. But yeah, I love you guys so much. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, or just subscribe, or do neither. Honestly, just so happy you're watching me. Thank you so much for being here. My merch, including my limited edition Glomus merch, my social media, and my vlog and podcast channel will be linked down below, along with my social justice spotlight, where I'm posting ways that you can give back this holiday season. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!